Morning. We'll begin with the roll call for the public hearing.
Holm? Hawkinsmith?
Here.
Connolly? Here. Altringer?
Here.
McCoy?
Here.
So this is a public hearing on fiscal year 2025-2026 county proposed property tax dollars.
Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? On the property tax hearing, the proposed property tax hearing.
Yeah, I got something to say about it.
Absolutely. Come forward and state your name and
We forgive the sunglasses are prescription, so only I can read.
oh, that's fine.
My name is Mike Hatfield, and I live in Ankeny, Iowa at 1706 Northwest Spruce Drive. My property taxes, according to this, and this is the first time I've done it, so bear with me, but according to this, you want to raise me up by 6.7%. I guess my curiosity is why. There's no changes in my property. There's been no changes in the property since I've owned it. The only reason that I can see you need to raise property taxes is because y'all can't figure out how to spend money the right way here. There's absolutely no cause for my property taxes to keep going up. Not only you want to raise property taxes, school board wants to raise property taxes, and the city of Ankeny wants to raise property taxes. It's got to stop somewhere, guys. This is really ridiculous. There's no excuse to have a property tax go up this high. I really hope you guys look at this and reconsider what you're trying to do, because you're just forcing people like me out. I'm a retired veteran, live on a disabled veteran's income, and it's absolutely unspeakable. The property taxes I'm paying now are over $6,000, and it's going to just keep going up more and more, and there's no excuse for it. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comments. I do want to state for the record, I think we've got some misinformation going on, and we tried to share with the public that the mailing that went out actually made an assumption that the property taxes for let's say $100,000 home would have gone up 10%, so that it actually would have been placed the value of the home at $110,000. In reality, the property tax change was actually 1.2%, which was caused by the state legislature with what they allowed us to levy, because each year they set the levy rate. So in reality, your property taxes will not go up to 6 point, what did you say, 6.7%?
6.7, I think is what the letter says, yeah.
So, yeah, so in reality, because the legislature mandated that mailing, and because of the assumptions that they made, which were not correct, they put out misinformation as a result of that mailing, and we had no opportunity to change that. And as a result, you know, people flooded our office with phone calls and
rightfully so.
And because, yeah, exactly, rightfully so. And so the reality is your property taxes by this board are proposed to be cut by 10 cents per thousand on unassessed value in Ankeny, and you should see no increase in your property taxes as a result. But I appreciate your position, because we tried to make the point to the Department of Management at the state that it was a very misleading action that we had to take as a result of what the legislature asked us to do and what DOM required us to send out. So
It definitely is misleading.
Yes.
So just to make sure I'm clear, you're telling me that my property taxes won't go up. I actually should see a slight reduction.
Yes.
Very good. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, though, and I appreciate your position.
If I could just add, the county part of your taxes should go down. We can't answer for anyone else, but we are
Oh, yeah, I
reducing
understand
our
that.
levy by 10
Yeah.
cents.
Well, I plan on being at them meetings too.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but we just didn't want you to think that your property tax is.
Yeah, but as far as your position is, you're not raising.
Is going down.
Our levy is decreasing 10 cents per thousand.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you for your
Thank
time. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks
Good
for
day.
being here. Anyone else wishing to speak on the proposed public hearing? If not, I would ask.
We have one more person.
Oh, yes.
Just a comment in relation to what the gentleman just referred to. You know, in the proposed budget, the county has at least $60 million in your budget that is uncommitted. You could actually use that to reduce property taxes for all county residents if you wanted to. Chose to cut it by 10 cents. You could probably cut it by much more than that by going into your reserves and then all the little pockets of discretionary funds that you have in the budget. So there's money there that could be used for property tax reduction.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Yes.
I admittedly don't follow your, all your actions that well. I was just curious, what did you cut this last year? You said that there is a budget decrease, so where did those come from? And what else did you consider cutting this last year? Oh, sorry, my name's Scott Graham, 1910 80th Street, Windsor Heights.
So, so the levy, it was our general levy that we actually decreased by 10 cents per thousand, which was a combination of both changes at the budget level at the county budget level, but in terms of savings, we identified areas where there were savings we could reduce, and it was across the entire budget.
Like, do you have examples of those were? Top of your head?
They were not. We made no changes to cuts in staff. So most of them were programmatic changes across a variety of budgets.
Okay.
So, I mean, in terms of specific cuts, we can get you some lists of some specific things that we've reduced, but there were identified savings and identifying cuts that we could make within departments, but each one of those were through the budget process, which is all online right now.
Okay.
On our landing page for the Board of Supervisors. There's a budget page, which each department came forward with a proposed budget, and we identified there were roughly $11 million in new requests for spending.
Okay.
Of that, we identified about 4 or 5 million that were actually funded appropriations, and then we had some new revenue that came in that we were able to cover those expenses with, and some reserves.
Okay, very good. One final question. I have the notice that was sent out. I just want to make sure I understand. You have the current property tax line, that column. That's the amount of taxes that you received last year, correct?
Right.
And then the other line is the proposed is what you're going to get last year. And that basically shows that revenue total revenue year over year has changed. I think the decrease, like in individual, individual property taxes would likely be more due to assessments. So in other words, revenue stays the same, but assessments go up, so your rate actually goes down a little bit. Would that be accurate way to summarize that?
I think so.
Okay.
yeah.
Very good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other public comments on the, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Chris Hodge. I live at 2907 Southeast 5th Street in south side of Des Moines. And I just had a quick question as far as how the budget is actually going year over year. I'm noticing a general trend that as our houses are worth more on paper, even though I have no intention of selling my home, the property taxes still creep up. And I was curious if there's ever going to be a point where we can stabilize, where it's not based upon an arbitrary figure like that, because it does get functionally more expensive year over year, and especially decade after decade, just to have what you already have.
Right. So, yep, so as you know, 40% of your taxes are to schools, 30% to cities, and 20% to counties, and then the additional levies throughout the system. And what we're really controlled by is what the state allows us to levy based upon the valuation of your home. And so when you look at the various taxes that you pay on your home and the levy rates, as the value of your home goes up, what really sets the rate for it is what we're allowed to levy as a percentage based on your home value. And so, as you know, the legislature has a property tax proposal this year, which is a comprehensive overhaul of the tax system, where the rollback, which is what the levy rate is determined by, is proposed to go away under that system. And that's going to be a challenging issue for local governments. One of the things they're talking about doing is setting a 2% cap on anything related to growth. And so we're studying those proposals right now and taking a look at them, but it would essentially require local governments to not grow at a rate that exceeds 2%.
I like that idea, and I would really love it if we could be retroactive. My home was built in, I think it was 54, and if we take valuations at 2% annualized, that would be really nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Can I jump in? Because property taxes is something that near and dear to my heart as far as trying to reduce the levy. So I believe, and Deb, correct me if I'm off on my numbers here, but I believe we had like $11 million of new money. And for every 1% increase in our salaries, we spend another $1.2 million. And so when we have over 1,500 employees for the county, at a 3% increase, and that's not counting our sheriffs, which actually had a 4% increase, we're at $3.6 million that we're spending that goes out the door. And so if we reduced it by $3 million and we increased it by 3.6, actually plus that, because we have the sheriffs in there, that gives us very little extra money that we're working on for any projects or services that our citizens need. Are my numbers-ish close? Okay, thank you. And so, there are hard decisions that we sit up at this table and we look at for every budget committee as far as where do we best spend the money and how do we be responsible with the tax dollars that you're sending us and what can we send back? And that is something that we are trying to do. And I believe that this is the first time we've had a levy reduction in over 15 years, at least, right? And so we're starting on that path, we're trying, but we're also thrown in right at the beginning of budget, and we're learning about what all the challenges are that we have to fund for the government here in the county too.
I gotcha. I respect that. I was also thinking a minute ago is there any other way for the city, county, et cetera, to take in funds other than property taxes?
Well, There's fees, obviously, there's fees across a variety of services and we tend to not be heavy on our fees in county government. I think the city government relies on the fee structure much more than we do. But that being said, you know, property taxes are essential to function in county government, and we represent about 30% of your tax bill. Excuse me, about 20% of your tax bill. Cities represent about 30% of your tax bill, and schools represent about 40%. So general aid for schools comes through the state, but they also are heavily dependent upon property taxes. So there's two functions of state government, and that's general aid and then your property taxes for school aid. But it is a challenge.
I gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl.
Yeah, just want to let you know, the auditor's office in room 230 will happily meet with any individual taxpayer, and we'll go through their numbers for them personally. Room 230 upstairs.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments on public hearing? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith.
Yes.
Connolly.
Yes.
Altringer.
Yes.
McCoy.
Yes. We'll now call the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors, and we'll begin with roll call.
Hawkinsmith.
Here.
Connolly.
Here.
Altringer.
Here.
McCoy.
Here. Action on the minutes of the previous meeting.
Move. Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith.
Yes.
Connolly.
Yes.
Altringer.
Yes.
McCoy.
Yes. Any special claims?
None.
Action on the bill list is submitted by the county auditor. Roll call?
Hawkinsmith.
Yes.
Connolly.
Yes.
Altringer.
Yes.
McCoy.
Yes. This time we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I would recognize Supervisor Altringer for a proclamation today on Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Open the cheat.
Okay.
All right. Whereas April 2025 marks the 25th year of observing Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and whereas the theme of Together We Act, United We Change calls on each of us to work together to prevent sexual abuse, harassment, and assault, we believe when anyone experiences sexual violence, every community member is affected, and whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and affects every community, over 53% of women and over 29% of men report experiencing contact sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas Polk County Crisis Advocacy Services provided comprehensive services, including advocacy, education, and support to 646 survivors of sexual assault in 2024. And whereas this month is an opportunity for our community to join with others around the world in committing to prevent sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. And whereas we join advocates and communities across the county in taking action to prevent sexual violence, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Polk County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Crime Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Polk County.
Thank you for reading that, and I believe that at this time there are some speakers that would like to say a word or two. Morning, Ruth.
Good morning. And welcome to the new faces who are here with us today. As we commemorate Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Violent Crime Prevention Week, I think it's really fitting that we recognize some Polk County employees whose work is dedicated year-round to awareness and prevention. And I'm Ruth Thompson. I'm with Polk County Crisis and Advocacy Services, and I'm really excited to be given the opportunity to showcase the work of our department. My elevator speech won't even get you to the second floor. It's Polk County Crisis and Advocacy provides an array of advocacy services to any Polk Countian who experiences sexual assault, violent crime, or who has lost a family member to homicide or suicide. And our services are 24/7. They're free, confidential, and voluntary. I'll just take a minute to talk about how far-reaching the impact of our department is in ways that people don't always realize. Throughout the academic year, we collaborate with Drake University and Simpson College to train, certify, and facilitate student organizations to provide peer support on campus to students who experience sexual harm or dating violence. This is done alongside their Title IX programs, and they're the only two programs of their kind in the state. We work closely with DMAC around awareness and speak to classes and events there. And this month, given that in April, I'll be living there pretty much with all their activities around the sexual assault awareness. We go to Des Moines University to create awareness about sexual harm with mutual health care providers. We do in-services with staff at local police departments and at the Polk County Jail. We regularly go to the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy and train new law enforcement officers how to work with victims of sexual assault. I manage an internship program where we get to prepare some of the brightest young people I've ever seen to enter the fields of criminal justice and social work. And I'm proud to say that one of my former interns is currently at Drake Law School, and two others are working with us as part-time advocates while they continue their graduate studies. Last summer, one of my colleagues and I were fortunate enough to be part of the Safe Bar training that the county sponsored that qualifies us to train the establishments who support Polk County's vibrant nightlife to be aware of and respond to the potential for sexual violence in their businesses. And we also, all of us, take part in multidisciplinary committees that regularly meet to discuss and combat violence, suicide, and sexual harm. Thursdays are my personal favorite day of the week because I and a colleague get to go and spend them at Polk County Jail doing support group with inmates, helping them process their own trauma and build resilience so that they can be better prepared to enter society. And of course, we do outreach to all Polk Countians, but I was given 3 target populations when I came to the department. And they're people that you don't always think about, people with disabilities, older Polk Countians, and the LGBTQ community. So much of my personal outreach is created toward creating awareness to our services in those communities. But that's kind of the fun stuff, the stuff that I really enjoy doing, that we all really enjoy doing. So the really important, very real, and almost never fun work that our advocates do, the victim services. We have 12 full-time and 7 part-time advocates in our department who are very much first responders, although they're almost always not thought of in that way. Our advocates meet with survivors of sexual assault, violent crime, and families of homicide victims and suicide loss where we find them, in emergency departments and in streets all over the county at all hours of day and night. We respond to trauma calls from emergency departments and law enforcement as they occur. I like to think of community in very broad terms. In our community, our closest partners are law enforcement, SANE nurses, and the county attorney's office. And alongside them, we provide comfort and resources to help survivors navigate both the social services and the criminal justice systems. And we also extend our community to mental health providers, homeless shelters, domestic violence workers, and definitely our culturally specific partners such as Luna, Monsoon, NISA, Embark, and just a dozen that I know that I'm forgetting, who help survivors begin to heal from their trauma. Our advocates accompany survivors to court, but they also accompany law enforcement to doorsteps to make death notifications to families of people lost to homicide and suicide. They help survivors get access to resources, but they also are sometimes the first and possibly the only person that a rape survivor talks about their experience with. They sit in living rooms and around kitchen tables with families who've lost children to gun violence as they grieve, and they also sit with them in court as they seek justice. It's scary and messy out on the streets, and our advocates see things that are scary and messy. Sometimes our clients lead scary and messy lives, but they all get treated with the same respect and dignity that any of us would expect, because our advocates recognize the humanity and the value in these folks. We do things that you might expect, such as holding group sessions for residents and staff at LC Apartments to help them begin to process their trauma that when they experience gun violence, and things that you might not expect, like holding similar groups of employees at Adventure when a young life was lost there as a result of an accident with one of the rides. From assisting survivors in drafting impact statements to delivering those statements for them when they don't feel able to, our advocates support survivors and victims in every step of their journey. And you may notice that I use both nouns, survivor and victim, because I believe that the work of our advocates in many cases make the difference in our clients as being victims or being survivors. There aren't a bunch of us here today, just about 3 or 4, because we're on call with a client or in court or doing what we do best, advocating. So in closing, on a personal note, I want to thank you for allowing me to do the work that I do, and then turn the attention back to our colleagues one more time, the advocates at Polk County Crisis and Advocacy. The work that they do is important. They're extremely talented, and they do it with their heart, and they do it incredibly well. When I speak to groups, I always leave them with the words, I hope that you never need us, but if you do, we'll be there for you.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you to all the advocates for your important work in this area. Are there any other individuals that would like to address the proclamation on sexual assault before we move on to the next proclamation? If not, we'll go ahead and move to the next proclamation for Crime Victims Week.
Whereas crime has a widespread impact in our community, the Polk County Attorney's Office served 5,182 victims in 2024. During the same period, Polk County Crisis and Advocacy Services provided advocacy, education, and support to over 1,614 victims of violent crimes. Whereas crime affects individuals, families, and communities in profound and varied ways, often leaving lasting physical, emotional, and social challenges. And whereas the concept of kinship is a nationally identified theme that underscores the connections that build bridges to services, support, and shared strength among survivors, advocates, and communities. And whereas kinship is the foundation of victim advocacy, inspiring trauma-informed care that meets survivors where they are. And whereas kinship reminds us of the strength that comes from connection, the importance of listening to every voice, and the power we have to create lasting change when we work together. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Polk County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim the week of April 6 to 12, 2025 as Crime Victims' Rights Week in Polk County, and this proclamation reaffirms our dedication to building connections, standing in kinship with survivors, and creating a future where healing and hope are within reach for everyone.
I believe that we have some individuals to speak to this. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Megan Peak. I have worked at the Polk County Attorney's Office in the role of victim liaison for the past 20 years. As you heard, our office has worked with over 5,000 victims within the last year. Over a 3-month period, a single liaison like myself has probably talked with 50 or more victims, keeping them informed of what is going on with their particular case in the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system is pretty much designed just as it sounds. It's about the criminal. Victims have very few rights within the criminal justice system. Most of them pertain mainly to information. It is our job to make sure that they get that information so they don't feel as lost as the process can make them feel. The criminal justice system is very daunting. When you aren't in the system, if you are not an attorney, if you don't work in the legal field, you often don't know what court cases, how they proceed, what the individual hearings are about, what your role can be in them. It is our role to make sure they understand what those hearings are based on. It is our role to make sure victims and survivors are heard, that their voice gets to be heard by not only the attorney, but by the judge if there is a plea or finding of guilt at those hearings, that they can make that victim impact statements. We are the link to make sure that they can express what justice looks like for them. We are the link to help them make a victim impact statement or coordinate with Polk County Crisis and Advocacy or other culturally specific advocacy groups so that they have that ability to do so. We are the link in making sure that they are offered community resources. We are the link to make sure that restitution is ordered on their behalf. We are the link to make sure that crime victim compensation is offered to them. We are the link to make sure that they can be registered, to be notified if an offender is released from prison or if there is a board of parole hearing. We assist survivors in all of these things. We often don't have the ability to change what they've been through. We don't have the ability to get the outcome they may want. But if we can make sure that they have been listened to, that they have been heard, and that they can be kept informed about the process, then it can make the entire criminal process a little less daunting. The Crime Victims' Rights Week is a way to honor and recognize what they have been through, what they continue to go through, and make the light shine on them yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work on behalf of victims of crime. At this time, we'd like to take a picture with the group from the group that has brought us both of these resolutions as one today. And I'd ask the board to come down to the front, and we'll ask folks to gather around the podium.
Short people to the front. Shorter people. Okay. Go over here, smile, 3, 2, 1. 1. They're done one.
Into, I think we have a public hearing next.
Yes.
I know it's not on the agenda and I won't read the actual proclamation, but it's also the end of celebrating Women's History Month. And so I just want to mention that thank you to all the women that educate, do all the things that we do. Thank you, elected leaders that are out in the audience, and county women out there that keep the moving. We really appreciate everything that you do, and I'm sorry that we didn't get a proclamation on but it's an honor to serve with all of you women in Polk County and everything that we all do. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Angela, for mentioning that. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead now and move to the public hearing.
The first public hearing is on plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate for the 4 Mile Creek Stream Restoration Project.
Is proof of publication on file?
Yes.
Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? If,
Chairman,
yes, sir.
regarding attachment, I'm sorry. My name is Ray Sears, 1795 Waters Edge Drive. On item 8 and 9, there are 2 resolutions that have been prepared and attached. However, any of the important information concerning this has been deleted. So I don't know how I can comment at a public hearing on a project which all it has is blanks in it. There's no cost, there's no contract, there's no nothing. So I'm wondering, legitimacy being a public hearing, if that's the only information provided to the public.
Yeah, I believe that there was an oversight, and I take responsibility for that as it relates to the attachment not being included in this item. And we are remedying the situation for future, but we have advertised this public hearing, so any individual wishing to get that information, we will furnish it and would have furnished it upon a request, sir.
But would it be appropriate then to proceed with the public hearing, since the public has no details about what you're talking about? I live on 4 Mile Creek, I'm all for it.
Right.
You know, but this doesn't tell me anything.
I understand that, and that I would just defer to council for a decision as it relates to the appropriateness of moving forward with the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Next, got something to say? Apparently.
Dominic Anania, Polk County Attorney's Office. I believe when we set the public hearing, which would have been 2 weeks ago, maybe on the 11th, I think in the notice looked up or looked at by the public at the auditor's office at that time. So if anyone from the public does want to look going into the future at the plan specification, form of contract, anything like that, those documents are generally in the auditor's office for review. On these large projects, I think it's difficult to link some of the specifications and plans. May be an issue here. I believe the board can legally go through with the public hearing today in that process. It's completely up to the board, but if the board does not go forward today, we'll have to send new notice to set another public hearing. So our recommendation, and maybe I'd defer to John Swanson, but our recommendation would be to go through with the public hearing today.
Yep, John Swanson, Polk County Public Works. I would add, although it seems like some of the technical attachments were missed on the agenda, on the resolutions as submitted and shared with the, you have the cost of the project, no public hearing that in the hearing, state of Iowa, the entire process. Number 9, based on resolution, the cost of the project and details about how it's being funded. So following, if this were approved, it will then be going out to bid, and those plans and specs will also be shared through the bidding process after that.
So let me ask this question then. When you say there was a technical glitch, usually in the past, we've always said, if you want to see whatever, contact either the auditor's office or we would make it available. Is this the problem, that we can't, these are so big, we can't see the attachments? Or what's the scoop, Erica?
Supervisor Connolly, I'll take responsibility in this error, that the form of contract was included, but it was a mistake in my office mind that the other two documents, or perhaps three, were not. We have had a little bit of struggle with working through some of the technical challenges on including some new attachments that we have not previously due to past practice. We did intend to include this one. That error was mine, and we'll include those moving forward.
And you are accurate in the two missing documents were the plans and the technical specifications, totaling close to 100 pages in technical documents. So it is quite a large piece that, and we have asked folks that are interested in seeing those to come and retrieve them in person.
Right, that's how we've normally done it anyway. We never really send these attachments out, they're too big.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
So, Ray, if your concern was the cost, I believe John
Well,
answered that, and it's the 500 and,
I don't want to be argumentative, but, and I understand a distribution of a 100-page document. I don't think that's reasonable either. However, many of the things referenced in here is what was the bid number, what was the cost, who is going to be doing the funding. Those are all blank. They're all highlighted right here.
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is the agreements. Also attached to the agenda is the resolution. So
This is a resolution.
this is the agreement, the form of agreement for the contractor. So,
Okay, where's the resolution?
so the resolution is also, when you pull it up online, you can click attachment and it takes you to this agreement. If you scroll down, you'll find the resolutions referenced to each of the items on the agenda. So you don't have to click the attachment. It's just, I was just on the website looking at it. So it's in a different location, although a good example of how this might be confusing, and we could probably look at adjusting to maybe put them all as attachments.
Again, I don't want to be argumentative. All I'm saying is what was available to the public tells me nothing.
Yeah,
And I don't want you to print off 100 pages.
Right.
But there are certain areas in here that references who's the contractor, how much it's going to cost, and those are all that blank. And this is the agreement, and it is noted as resolution number 8 and number 9. Doesn't say anything about agreement, it says resolution.
And those were left blank because we're not awarding a contract yet. So we'll know that after we bid it out, and we'll be coming back to the Board of Supervisors with all those numbers filled in.
Did you have a public hearing at that time?
We'll have, it'll be on the agenda for approval by the board, and it'll be
Will it be a
available for
public
comments.
hearing?
It will not be a public hearing.
but there will be,
Our hearing.
yeah, our hearing on it. And I'm ready to move forward with that. I would close the hearing and ask for a motion. And
I will move.
Second.
roll call?
Resolution is number 8, resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of public improvements for 4-mile tributary stream restoration project.
Roll call?
Smith?
Yes.
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 McCoy?
Yes.
The next public hearing is for plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate for the Little 4-Mile Creek Stream Restoration Project.
Is proof of publication on file?
Yes.
Is there anyone wanting to speak to this item? If not, I'd close the hearing and ask for a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Roll call?
Resolution approving plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of public improvements for the Little 4-Mile Creek Stream Restoration Project. Hawkinsmith? Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes. At this point, we've reached the point in our meeting for public comments. Are there any public comments from the audience on any topics related to the board?
Bryce Sears, 1795 Water 6 Drive, Pleasant Hill, Iowa. Just a couple things. I noticed in the newspaper, and I realize that it's not always accurate, I think Supervisor McCoy said that the issue of the double payment to supervisors was not going to be explored, was not going to be talked about anymore or resolved. Is that correct? And I'm not talking about Ms. Alternator, I'm talking about Mr. Holmes. I'm talking about an employee who's full-time at the DOT and full-time at Polk County and is receiving $120,000 a year from DOT, $150,000 a year from Polk County's taxpayers. And it seems to me that it is an issue that needs to be pursued. Is it your opinion that it's just a dead issue?
My opinion is that the Iowa Code chapter that we're regulated under as a Board of Supervisors is silent on the issue, and that is a matter to Mr. Holm and his personal constituents that he has to respond to, yes.
Mm-hmm. Of course, if the Iowa Code's silent on it, then you are within the home rule regulations to deal with it. But I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me, you know, as I mentioned earlier, this is not going to go away.
You're right.
You know, even if it's not illegal, it sure as the hell ain't right. You know, and somebody needs to be following up on this, whether it's within your purview or not. I believe that, you know, maybe the county attorney has an opinion on that. I don't know, but it's simply not right.
Yeah, and I believe that he has sought outside guidance on it, and you could certainly address the issue with him personally. And
I have visited with Supervisor
I would encourage you to
Holmes.
do that. Yeah.
I have talked to him about it.
Yeah.
And I told him that I would oppose it.
Yeah.
So that's one issue. And now more to the boring stuff, the budget. I had appeared before this board some time ago suggesting that the funding with taxpayer dollars of the soccer stadium was just absolutely an abomination. You are utilizing monies that could go to fund children's programs, to feed children, you know, affordable housing, daycare, and you're choosing, unless you follow my recommendation and include it in next year's budget, you are supporting a billionaire. He doesn't need this money, you know, and that project is not at the top of the list of needs of the Polk County taxpayer. And I think that this board needs to take some serious thought about that as to whether or not you want to include that additional $17 million in revenue in your budget for next year. You could do an awful lot of things with that $17 million that need to be done. You know, the other comment I would make is that I had mentioned before that you have a tremendous amount in this budget, tremendous amount of money in this budget that is non-specified. You know, you have, if my numbers are correct, $62 million in reserves. That's just a pot of money over here that you can access at any time for any purpose, as long as it's legal. You also have a rainy day fund in the amount of $8 million. Again, no restrictions, you know. You also have a program which each supervisor has $250,000 that they can spend within their districts. Projects that constituents think are important. That's $1,250,000. That's also unspecified. You have $2 million in what you call community development grants. Again, unspecified. You know, you have a tremendous amount of monies that has not been affected yet by the legislature. You have a tremendous amount of flexibility, you know, and I believe that it is too much. However, let me put this caveat on it. With what's happening in Washington and what's happening at the state level, I believe that you need to have this kind of money available because you're going to be inundated with more and more legitimate requests for funding that have been denied, by the state or the federal government. I would, for this year only, I would suggest you keep all those balances, but put them all in a single fund, not funds that you can spend on your constituents, which is what they are, and put it into the rainy day.
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 35, resolution authorizing approval of Deferred Compensation Committee recommendation for investment change.
Move. I'll second, but on this, what's the change exactly on this? I don't know anything about this one.
Ralph, you want to take that one?
Yes. Previously, under the deferred compensation program, Polk County employees had the option, one of the investments was basically a cash account or a money market. The interest rate on that was extremely low. We wanted to remove ourselves from that, which required a 12-month advance notice to Principal Financial Corporation. That 12 months is up, and we have decided to move to another principal product that increases that interest rate return approximately 3%. And it is transferable so that we would no longer have to wait that 12-month period of time should we decide to change it in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Conway?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Numbers 36 and 37 are resolutions approving agreements with the 5th District Department of Corrections for the Youth Supervision Program and the Intensive Supervisory Court Program, Drug Court.
Move. Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 38, resolution approving position modification within the Conservation Department. And number 39, resolution authorizing Auditor's Office to publish notice of public hearing on April 8th to approve a permanent electrical easement to Mid-American Energy Company on land known as the 4 Mile Creek Greenway.
Move.
I'll second, and I'm reading on the fiscal note, there's no change in any of the dollars on any of the conservation?
Correct.
Okay.
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 40, resolution approving amendment to master services agreement with Mail Services LLC to continue to provide print and mailing services for Iowa motor vehicle renewal registration notices.
I'll move.
Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 41, resolution authorizing Auditor's Office to publish notice of public hearing on April 22nd on proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget.
I'll move.
Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 42, resolution approving the recommendations of the Soil and Water Conservation District Commissioner for allowances and disallowances of the impoundment structures exemption. And number 43, resolution refunding overpayment of transfer tax to Vision Bank of Iowa in the amount of $41.40.
Move.
Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Numbers 44 and 45 are resolutions approving Community Betterment Grant Awards and Community Sponsorship Awards.
Move.
Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Number 46, resolution approving property tax exemption pursuant to Iowa Code Section 427.122.
Okay, move it.
Second.
Roll call?
Hawkinsmith? Connolly? Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Communications. Number 47, City Development Board Notice of Hearing regarding Altoona voluntary annexation, including non-consenting owners within urbanized area of Bondurant, Ankeny, and Des Moines. Number 48, City of Des Moines Zoning Board of Adjustment Notice of Public Hearing on Wednesday, March 26th on appeals of zoning regulations. Number 49, City of Ankeny, notice of consultation with affected townships and counties concerning a petition for the annexation of land by the City of Ankeny. And number 50, City of Johnston, notice of consultation with State of Iowa and all affected taxing entities concerning proposed amendment to Johnston East Central TIF Urban Renewal Plan.
Refer to Public Works and County Attorney. Any budget actions?
None.
Memorandum of appointments?
I'll move those.
Second.
Roll call?
Smith? Connolly?
Yes.
Altringer?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes. Any board member comments this morning?
I just got a couple. I think Supervisor McCoy, you met with Amanda with DART.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure the rest of the board knows that we are going through a reimagine, and I'm going to pass out a couple items, but there's a couple options that we're looking at. So we might have fewer routes that will run maybe all day or all week, or we might have another option that covers more routes but less
Frequency.
frequency. So everybody will have an opportunity to end the meeting. There's a couple, I think, 2nd, April 3rd, they're asking for a lot of input. So this is really important. And also, now that the state is coming up with some possible changes, that's going to make some implications on the property tax also. So I don't know where that's going to lie. So our reimagine might be really reimagined depending on what's going to happen. So I just want you to know that this is going to make a huge difference in how we do transit moving forward. That's one thing I wanted to talk about and mention. I told her I would make sure that you all knew that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I sent out a couple emails in the past couple weeks regarding what was happening with some office moving around, some changes. No one really answered me. So I gotta ask now at the desks up here. I've noticed in the last 45 days, you know, we've made some significant changes. We've painted, we've recarpeted, we have a TV, and now we're actually moving offices and building offices. And I still don't know really what's happening because nobody's answering my question. I know some people think that's in the weeds. I don't think that's in the weeds because obviously some people know. I don't know what's happening. But this has all taken place in the last 45 days. So meanwhile, we've asked department heads and others to make sure we stay status quo and remain fiscally responsible. And this is all happening at the Board of Supervisors. So I don't think that's being very responsible. And I'd like to know really what is happening when I see office being built and people moving offices. So either you can answer me here or at least send me an email on what's happening because you're not answering my question by email.
Yeah, I can send you an email. I can also just say a lot of that is standard operating procedure. I would say throughout the county, there's office changes, paints, things of that nature. If that's something that the board wants to be briefed on, a lot of that stuff I don't even know. I don't even get involved with that level. We have a lot of good people at Polk County that are
You
paid to
don't
do
ask
certain
people to
jobs.
move offices and redo offices in the HR department or build offices in the HR department and you're moving down the hall and you don't know about it?
I know about some of it, but I guess I don't need to know about all of it, whether someone's changing offices at River Place or the sheriff's office. I feel like, again, that's just
I'm not
kinda
asking
standard
about the sheriff's office.
procedures.
Well, what you do in standard procedure and how we run the office, I'd like to know.
Yeah, that's fair. I can brief you on office changes and anything else you'd like to know.
I appreciate it.
I do believe, in all fairness, the carpet was 30 years old and we were part of a replacement program that was scheduled and our replacement came up. I do think that The supervisors' offices were painted, I think, that was done as part of the 2 new supervisors coming in,
Oh, I forgot to mention soundproofing.
and the lobby, I believe, was, I believe the lobby area was repainted as part of as part of a prep for the paint that was, for the carpet that was going down, and they were going to try to add a little color in there. So, which I didn't even get involved in that, and I don't know.
Or did anybody else, apparently,
I
except for
don't-
1 or 2?
I don't know about the, I mean, I think the TV was added in the visitor area for visitors that come in, so that there's something for them to look at. So I don't know. I think the office looks great, and it's, it needed some love, and that's what it's gotten a little bit of. So hopefully we can all make the adjustments and learn to like it. So other than that,
I got a couple questions, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
And basically, they're the same questions that I've sent you 2 emails about that you have failed to respond to me on, haven't responded at all to my emails. And the issue is, are we going to do a search for a new county administrator? I've asked it multiple times. If we're not going to do that, and if Frank Marasco is going to have the position indefinitely, then I would suggest to you, based on the savings that we're trying to realize in county government, that his position be eliminated at the sheriff's office. Clearly, he hasn't been there for 3 months, and they haven't missed him. So I don't know why we wouldn't try to find some savings at the sheriff's office based on that vacant position. It's been vacant for 3 months.
So, just so that and I'm glad you brought this up, because I was gonna chat with you about it. I've been advised it's not appropriate on the emails to do an email that you copy the whole board on, because it represents a violation of open meetings law. So that's why I didn't respond to that email, and I've honestly not seen you in the office for weeks, and I have not been able to catch up with you, but.
I've been on vacation, but I got a phone and it works.
Well, you know, I appreciate that. I also appreciate people coming to work once in a while. Anyway, the reality is, the job in the sheriff's department has not been filled. I believe that Frank is continuing to cover that area, in addition to the work he's doing as a county administrator, as an acting county administrator. And I've tried to state that I think that, you know, for where we are right now, I don't think it's the best time to be doing a search, but that is, you know, in the future, something we'd like to get to.
Is there a search season that's better than others?
There is a time that I think when I think some of the internal issues that have spilled over into the media would make it a more attractive job than it currently is.
Yeah. We've ran off the last 2, so, all right, thank you. One more thing I want as a clarification, and I'm not sure whether this is relevant or not. Ralph, you can let me know, but when we talked about the compensation recommendation for the Board of Supervisors, I believe Supervisor Altringer recommended 0%. I believe that the Iowa Code section calls for us to reduce it by a percentage. So does that need to be clarified that we are reducing it by 100%? Before, we've always reduced it 75%, 65%. Do we need to do that just for clarification, for a technical standpoint?
It's my understanding that the Board of Supervisors declined to accept the recommendation of the Compensation Board.
Wouldn't we have to reduce it by 100%, the recommendation?
I think you just,
I don't care. As long as you say it's okay, I'm good with it. That's never the way that we've done it before.
my understanding, it was the intent of the board to reject the.
Any raise.
Any raise at all.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Angela, I'm going to take responsibility for the lobby paint. And my understanding was the offices had not been painted for quite a while. They were in my office painting after they went through Holmes' office painting. My assistant was there helping in my office. I asked if there was a color that they wanted. My understanding is the assistants are very happy with the extra color. In full disclosure, I was looking at moving to the conference rooms next. So if you and I can work on a color, but paint is a very inexpensive facelift that can bring some new vitality to the office. So because you asked where the paint came from, I'm responsible for the paint. Anyone that wants to come up and see it, I think it looks very nice, but biased.
I think it's dark, but whatever.
Okay.
Bigger fish to fry.
I agree. That's why I didn't know. If you want, like I said, to help me with that, let's do it.
I moved to a journalist. We got anything else? Are we done?
I'll second.
Hawkinsmith,
Yes.
Connolly,
Yes.
Yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
We're adjourned.